Every day is a day to be thankful, particularly when it's a day when you return upbeat, bright and early. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeff Rosal. Thank you so much for being part of the program. As always, we'll continue to thank you, and we'll continue to do the best we can to serve you, bring you up to speed and the highlights of major happenings in the politics, in security sector, as well as the economy. That's what we do right here on the program. We're broadcasting live from the nation's commercial nerve center and our global headquarters here in Lagos. Thank you so much. Bukola, I was listening to you. I said to myself, you know, I was chatting with Bukola earlier. I said, today is Tuesday. Before you start telling us what happened on Friday and on Saturday.
Why don't you have any filter?
No.
Just leave some things to the back end.
Just as a reminder. Just as a reminder. So what's been going on, Bukola?
Quite a lot. Of course, we've been following events over the weekend. Very busy weekend and a busy Monday as well. We see the gospel singer turned murder suspect who was arraigned. And of course, he's pleaded not guilty. It's quite curious because the video of his own confession that went viral, he confessed to the crime. So we wonder, you know, what is responsible for this turn of events? Is it upon advice from counsel and all of that? But, you know, of course, that video we hope can be tendered as evidence. But Jeffrey, there's another, you know, thing that is interesting to note, which is a call to action to everyone across sectors, public and private. And it is that report by the Federal Road Safety Commission that more than 5,000 persons died in road accidents in 2024, about a 7% increase or thereabout from the previous year. And that is despite a significant reduction in the spate of road accidents. And in that report, if you looked a bit closely, you would see that that's as a result of careless driving and, of course, those who have died in tragedies such as tankers rolling over and, you know, spilling its content, and people going to scoop fuel just to make what would seem a quick gain from petrol, but they'll be meeting their untimely deaths. And we've seen quite a number in the year 2024, and, you know, even in year 2025, the beginning of 2025 alone. And, you know, we've had this conversation time and again with regulators, including the Federal Road Safety Corps itself, on this program, but it seems as if there is much more that can be done besides the structures put in place. We talked about an app that you can download on your phone and use to report erring tanker drivers. But there's much more that can be done. It speaks to consequent management because, you know, these tanker drivers, the drivers themselves, they can escape. You know, when these accidents happen, they fly out of the vehicle and then you don't find them anymore. But there must be, you know, some form of engagement, continuous engagement in terms of checking the excesses of these tanker drivers. The companies, the FRC speaks about partnerships where they, you know, are able to check the excesses from, you know, the loading point. But what about committees, the committees on transportation at the state level and at the federal government level, where trial courts can be recommended to try these people such that, you know, they can be responsible for the murder and the untimely deaths of Nigerians. And of course, the functions of the NOA come to mind at this point in time as well, continuously engaging Nigerians on the need to, as much as possible, be away from venues of these accidents where tankers spill their content. So it's an interesting story, you know, to watch out for, Jeffrey.
Great story. We just have to be careful. What I caught in the mix of it is Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, talking about the fact that he uses his rent, one of his houses, as a rental to take care of his feeding and all of that. Nigerians they don't want to hear it anymore because, you know, in the first coming of Buhari, that there was that posturing of a modest man and all of that. We haven't said that has changed in any shape or form, but people are saying you're a former general, you're a former head of state and president, so you should have enough money to take care of yourself. So more like we've heard this game before, or we've heard this from you before. But perhaps what he was trying to say is that I did not steal anybody's money. I live within my means. But people are also looking at it the other way around. How do you manage your finances that you're not able to, as a former president, say, is here and there? But let's tell you
that
what
sounds to me like political correctness and positioning.
Let's talk about what...
There's more in former president's bank accounts.
We don't want to talk about Muhammadu Buhari today. There's going to be that for another day. We're talking about... some of the things we'll be talking about today on the program includes what's playing out in the Lagos State House of Assembly. Yesterday, the Speaker, Mojisola Miranda, took charge as the Speaker, reporting to our office as the new Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. So it's no longer Mr. Speaker, it's now Madam Speaker. Beginning from any proceedings and plenaries that will be taking place, she expects her to appoint heads of standing committees any moment from now. So solidarity by 39 members of the State House of Assembly, except Obasa, of course, who has not reported to the House, who is now a floor member at the Lagos State House of Assembly.
Well, he insists that he's Speaker, so let's see how that...
Well, he's not Speaker, clearly, from what he's playing out here. he would battle that in court.
Jeffrey, as far as politics is concerned, the more you look, the less you see, unless you look a little closer.
I believe you, absolutely, I believe you.
Okay, so from there, we head out to sports. The 2025 Africa Cup of Nations is almost here. The draws were held last night, and it looks like we're going to see some interesting matchups. We'll be joined by an analyst and a former Nigerian international for some expert analysis on the competition and, of course, Nigeria's chances. All
right, so those draws covers Nigeria, Uganda, and a couple of other countries. How will it play out for AFCON? We'll be talking to the guys who know and who've been on this field playing against some of these opponents. But beyond that, Ekiti is the next port of call. The cargo airport, we understand the operations should be commencing anytime from anytime. So you can see what exactly is going on in Ekiti. There has been a battle as to, was this even necessary? Is there even enough traffic in Ekiti to warrant this? Well, they'll be here to tell us what this is all about. It's called the Ekiti Cargo Airport, right there in, I believe, Ado.
And from there, we touch on cybersecurity, its role in safeguarding personal, corporate, and national data in the face of constantly evolving cyber threats.
And beyond that, we will be looking at the books. We have something called Morning Chapters, where we spotlight authors. Today, the book we'll be looking at is The Grandfather's Inheritance, and Olanile will be joining us to break it down. What exactly is the content of this book? Now, beyond all of this, remember you can go to X and post for us to amplify your voice on the program, and CTV Morning Brief is a hashtag to get our attention on X. But also remember, WhatsApp is a number you can reach us through with videos as well as messages. Call Bukola is fine, but no calls. But videos and messages only. So that's a magic number. Yeah. So send us messages and videos. We'll do our very best to bring it up to speed and amplify your voice.
And all right, there, so we'll head out to the papers.
Yes, straight up to the papers. I think we will start with the Guardian newspaper. Guardian newspaper today, on the very headline, we're going to be joined pretty soon by somebody who will be analyzing this for us. But let's just look at the Guardian newspaper at the very first headline. Trump's presidency, U.S. aid suspension may cost Nigeria $1 billion in health funding orders yearly. But we will not just be doing this alone, Bukola. So we have an analyst that will be joining us on the program to break all of this down on the program. Mr. Adeni Ifedayo, media analyst and public affairs analyst, of course, will be joining us any moment from now.
Good morning.
All right, so that's the headline. So any moment from now, Mr. Ifedayo will be joining us. So, Bukola, so that's the headline.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, the papers are saying quite a lot this morning. And to be interesting, you know, to process the subjects and, you know, reflect on what will be the implications of the headlines in the coming days.
So we finally have Mr. Ifedayo Adeni joining us. Mr. Ifedayo, thank you so much for coming on the program. For a moment, we thought you were not present, but we're happy you're here.
Yeah, all right, good morning. It's always my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So let's begin with the headlines from The Guardian. U.S. aid suspension may cost Nigeria $1 billion in health funding. orders yearly. You know, the United States president has said, WHO, we're doing this no more. Talk to us about it.
Yes, of course. Nobody should be surprised about some of the policies or initiatives of Mr. President. That's what I mean, Donald Trump. He's a no-nonsense man, and of course, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. If he says that nothing is not coming to you, so everybody should tighten their belts. It's not every time we should be hoping for the handout from whether WHO or from the US government. So it's a high time Nigeria need to look inward and put their house in order, not only Nigeria and another nation who mostly run to WHO for handout or for support. That's why sometimes they have a kind of bearing over Nigeria and over some policies that we want to do. So I'm sure with this one now, they should put their house in order, look inward, and see how to live without WHO, how to live without a handout from the United States government.
All right, so I know that there's a lot of conversations to that effect. One of the things we saw is the fact that it's not happy that China, with over $1 billion, 1.3 or 1.4 billion, is contributing way less than the United States, that is about 300 million people. And he's saying, how can China be contributing little when they have more population with all the money they have, I guess, and China is still considered a developing country. But let's move on to business day. Tinubu wants to drill Ogoni oil but clean up drags. Is it fair?
Yes, I think cleanup is something that we've been, crying for all this while. There's nothing you want to do in Ogoni if cleanup is not, be the first on your priority list. But I told Mr. President I had a meeting with the Ogoni leaders the other time, just about a week ago or thereabout. So the cleanup is not just for you you must walk the talk. We've been saying so much about it. I was watching it is also on your program when one analyst said that if you are waiting for foreign company to come and clean up, at least if indigenous company, they have been doing a fantastic job when it comes to pipeline surveillance. I think they should look inward, and there's so much technology. Just give them a trial and let them start this cleanup. There's so much talk about it. Let's do it, and once and for all, and we can move on. After all, it's part of Nigeria. And so much has been coming from there with what they have suffered so much. Environmental pollution, the aquatic problem issue and all of that. So I think they deserve it, not just for us to talk about it, it's for us to put action to it.
All right, Mr. Ifedayo, let's head out to Daily Independent now. And Daily Independent...
Ifetayo.
Mr. Ifetayo.
Yes,
oh, pardon me. So Daily Independent has an interesting caption as its headline, and it's about the opposition party's continuing crisis. It seems as if the PDP may not recover anytime soon. Again, PDP crisis escalates as NWC members crash. And it's just, about 2 years to the 2027 general election. And some would say that plans for the next election start the very first day after the previous elections have been won. But look at the PDP, see where it is currently. How do you project that this crisis will pan out in the coming days?
I think they need to be decisive. You can't be working in Party A and be receiving your salary in Party B. If you are for us, you are for us. If you are not for us, you are not for us. And one thing about leadership is sometimes to make self-sacrifice. It's not just all about you or the winner takes all. And if they are not going to shift ground, they might continue like this and they might not make a meaningful impact in 2027 general election. But I think they still have a little window opportunity to come together. If some people, how can you say that somebody is working in Bank A and is meddling with Banking B? If somebody is for you, you should retain it. They should make a decisive decision. If you are not for us, such individual or party leader is either expelled or sanctioned or removed, and they should do that and move on. But if they are not doing that, they don't want to shift ground, they'll continue to this in-house wrangling. I'm the one in charge, nobody can remove me. it's as if they are toothless dogs. So if they want to bite and bite, you should do that now, because you have so much to put together in 2010. So if they want to make any meaningful impact, and if they should look inward too, if they want to merge, why not? So that they can pull out a strong outing in 2027.
It's quite interesting because the PDP has not been able to have its neck. Keep postponing, sometimes on very funny excuses. And I've challenged Olobodi to say, we don't see it coming anytime soon. But this has to do with what's going on in the Southeast, where I think the vice chairman in that area was suspended. Ayan, his position is being contested with Okoye, summoned the meeting. It's just a mix of many things. But if you want to know more about that page, about that, you can go to the Daily Independent. But another story on the Daily Independent that I want you to speak to is Nigerians will soon reap benefit of current hardship. That's according to the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. I wanted you to comment on that because Nigerians have been hearing this over and over and over again.
Yeah, I believe, well, of course, there's an adage in Yoruba, that whose fly is it going to, ours fly, who will he support unless somebody who has a boil or something, injury on his or her leg. So what do you expect Mr. Vice President to say? They've been saying this over and over again. I think even there's a gestation period for any policy between a year and 6 months to a year, but I've not seen any meaningful development. And of course, I just hope that they will be able to pull out something in the next 2 years, because I'm sure by next year now they'll be talking about general election for 2027 or thereabout. So I don't see anything in that statement. Of course, he can't speak against his principal or the government that he belongs. It's common place for Nigerian politicians. So he's just saying the obvious, that Nigeria will soon reap the benefit of current hardship. But you and I remember just last week, and I can't believe that, or 2 weeks ago, it's not up to 2 weeks ago, NCC approved 50% increment in tariff of telecommunication. Come on, you can't just rub all those things on our face and telling us that Nigeria will soon reap the benefit of, like they say, what they are doing is different from Balablu. It's not what we pray for. It's like what I order for versus against what I got. I just hope they make a meaningful impact.
All right, that's the expectation. So there are quite a number of other stories on the front page of Daily Independent, but they're also covered in the next paper, and that's This Nigeria. So, but the lead story on the front page of This Nigeria is about the minimum wage. Civil servants worried over selective implementation as Imo, Sokoto, Akwa Ibom, FCT workers to commence payment in January. While I'm sure that if we looked into the story, there's a lot that will be discovered if it's talking about selective implementation. Remember the back and forth last year over consequential adjustments and its implications and the ability of the subnationals to be able to implement it. But do you think that Labour did its job thoroughly? I'm talking about Labour specifically now at the state union chapters before they made the agreements with the subnationals on the varying sums that they agreed upon.
No, I don't think so. In as much as the Nigerian Labour Congress, regardless of the state they operate from, they've not been really, to me, I'm sorry to say, somehow somebody was asking me, I think they have lost their onion. They have, they have not been able to hold their grants. I also believe that they should have, and some of our governments, they are not helping matter. They are not being transparent with what comes in, internally generated revenue, their overhead costs and all of that. You should know if this state can afford to pay a particular fee, 80,000, 70,000, as stipulated, and you can engage your member as well. And just like I said, that the cost you pay for a 2-bedroom flat in Lagos might be way higher than what is obtainable in Kaduna or in Maiduguri, for example. So somebody who is earning 200,000 naira in Lagos will be different from will be far, far different from someone who is earning even 200,000 naira in Sokoto. So those are the things they should put into it, and before they could agree, the governor, the executive governor, bring out your books. Let's see what comes in. Yes, you have a project to do. You have what you have a mic or a budget for the year. Let's see what you are talking about. But they've not been able to do that. If they can agree for us to have band A, band B, band C, I don't see any point for state government when it comes to minimum wage, to look into that and so that it can arrive at a logical conclusion. So many states have lost even interest in a Nigerian Labour Congress. But what do? We still wait for them to do the little they can do. Like they say, a drop of water makes mighty ocean. So let's see whether something good can still come out of Nazareth, as they say.
Well, we hope that Labour does not fall into a slumber again in the course of the year. We must thank you very much, Mr. Adeni Ifetayo, for your time on this paper review segment. Of course, we look forward to having you again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation for the day. Join us again.
Well, let's get right into it, shall we? By the way, good morning. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Just in case you're wondering, we're starting off with the Lagos political situation, and I think it's one that it's going to be a major one, setting the tone for 2027, really. And for a lot of people who are watching already, they know what is playing out. But let's give you, well, some legal perspective, and then help you see things also from the political angle of things, such that you can make informed decisions and not get carried away by all of the back and forth and the noise. And we have joining us right here in our Lagos studio, public affairs analyst, Mr. Olufemi Lawson. He's right here with us, and joining us virtually is the senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Karbo. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning.
Senior Advocate, I'd like to begin with you because there's been a lot of debate around the legality or otherwise of this, but some have said, well, the law, as much as it is clear, is also not clear in that sense on how to impeach a speaker. And then the impeached speaker, Mr. Obasa, said, well, this was not done the right way. I'm not sure if he's going to escalate this to court. But if there's a short explainer of what the law says and what the law fails to say about how a speaker should be impeached, perhaps you can just provide insight into that, Senior Advocate.
Okay, thank you very much. Simply, the Constitution prescribes that the Speaker of the House can be removed by the members following a resolution of a 2/3 majority of the members of the House. And the procedure for that resolution is usually set out in the standing rules of the State House of Assembly. And usually the general pattern is that if a member would table a motion to that effect, and the motion is supported by another member, and it is put into debate, and a vote would be conducted, either by vote or whatever, depending on what their standing rules prescribe. And usually, perhaps, the only other aspect of it that is relevant is if the speaker is given the due notice, that is also prescribed by their standing rules, and is given the opportunity to defend himself, because the motion has to be debated like any other motion. And usually, if there is any cause of action, the cause of action would be questioning whether, or answering the question whether or not the due process was complied with. Other than that, I think every other aspect of it is political. But like I have said, the legal aspect of it is very, very narrow. The Speaker is a member of the State House of Assembly. He's a first among equals. He's elected by the members from among themselves to preside over the proceedings of the House.
All right.
Beyond that, the member of the House.
So short answer to this. First, I know there's been controversy about whether or not he's a legal practitioner, his credentials being questioned, and all of that. Maybe you can speak to that. But is it a possibility that the court can overturn this kind of impeachment if you were to go to court? Is that a possibility?
I said that it is highly improbable. It's highly improbable because the general stand of the legal system or the courts usually is let the National Assembly, or the State House of Assembly, the Parliament in particular, or the arms of God, let them conduct their own affairs in the manner they have prescribed for themselves. Mind you, the standing rules of the State House of Assembly are like their own constitution. And usually, yes, there may be some aspect of it that is not complied with, but if there is substantial compliance, it becomes very difficult for you to have a court reverse it, because the general principle is that you cannot impose a speaker on the House. You cannot. And if there is non-compliance at all, of course, if the 2/3 majority that is required by the Constitution is not met, then obviously there is the likelihood that a court of law may avoid that particular impeachment, if that's the word. But I think the constitutional word is removal.
All right, so there's more on the legal aspects, with groups coming up to challenge, the appointment of the former Deputy Speaker as Speaker, particularly because of the Lagos Central positioning of it. They're saying that she's from the same place as the governor, and as a result, any speaker that should have been elected should have come from Lagos West and not Lagos Central. I'd like Mr. Lawson to speak on that. I'll come to you later for what's in the rule books as far as whether it's a deputy speaker that should naturally be elected as speaker. But Mr. Lawson, I'd like you to speak to that political aspect of it all, the Lagos Central argument.
Well, for me, it's the argument that zoning, as some people are trying to advance, is not usually a culture in Lagos. In this same state, we've had deputy governor, and speaker coming from the same senatorial district. You see, this argument is basically from people who are just trying to maybe look for an escape route for the removed speaker, because in this state we have had governor, the deputy governor, and coming from even almost neighboring local government. And if she's from the same senatorial district, like I said, which has often been an argument or a culture in Lagos, is she from the same immediate constituency with the governor? She's from Apapa. The governor is from another local government. And see, we have even gone beyond that, because even if people are advancing the argument that senatorial district zoning in this situation, there have been people who have also argued about if you're actually from Lagos or not on this same issue. So I don't think it's an issue. The issue is that the House has the exclusive power to elect among itself a speaker, and in fact, the law does not even prescribe any condition as or qualification for somebody to emerge as a speaker. All he has to do is be a member. And the same law does not also provide or give any condition for the removal of such person. In fact, the members can decide even on most frivolous ground of whether your public appearance or public statement remove you as a speaker. We've seen this happen in the past. So argument of zoning, this and that, does not hold any water as some concern in this matter. The House, as within its constitutional power, elected you, and they have said no, enough, go and take a seat. You are still a member of the House. He has not been removed as a member of the House. He has only been removed as their leader. And remember that he is just a member, just like every other person. Best among equal to have been chosen, but not because it's better. Any member of the House is qualified by the virtue of the law to be Speaker of the House of Assembly.
And the former speaker is saying no, my removal was unconstitutional. He has no problem with being removed. if they're talking about his declaration for, the 2027 governorship race, he's eminently qualified. What does this portend, for the overall stability of politicking in the House? Do you foresee in the near future a state assembly that is divided?
In actual fact, you have followed the leadership of Mr. Basa from 2015 and he became speaker, re-elected 2019 and 2023. Me as a Lagosian, I'm more particularly worried about the conduct of the House under his leadership, about his conduct in the public on a number of occasions, than this issue of 2027. You see, that should even be the least in this discussion. We've seen series of allegations of corruption. We've seen groups petitioning EFCC. In actual fact, there was a time the EFCC officially invited this same person through the clerk of the House for questioning. These are issues ordinarily that should have. In fact, for me, the House of Assembly was even late in removing Mr. Basa as Speaker, going by the series of controversies that have characterized his leadership, particularly allegations of corruption, which is not good for the image of a House of Assembly of a state like Lagos. So beyond 2027, which he has right to aspire, whether as a member, as a speaker, or not a citizen, I think the issues are more than. If you watch the visuals from the meeting where it was removed, members spoke about lateness, to duty. There are times this man comes to the assembly sitting at 2 p.m., at 3 p.m., keeping members waiting. We were early here. It was on live broadcast during the 2025 budget presentation by the Lagos State Governor. You saw the time that sitting commenced. You saw a lot of times where this man is challenged on allegations of corruption. I was in public, so these allegations were listed: financial impropriety, lateness to duty, high-handedness. So they have rights to even call it any allegation to remove him.
But the State Assembly, as you have said, is late in coming. So we might have to ask, why is it, speaking up just now, after years of so many allegations of corruption leveled against the Speaker?
Recently there has been a lot of pressure on the Assembly, all over the media. In the last 3 months, there have been at least, to my knowledge, not less than 4 petitions, by groups against the leadership of the House. So, and a lot of other, allegations that, have been leveled against the leadership of the House. So I think though they are late, in my opinion, to have done this, I think it is still very much in order. And like they said in their declaration of the new Speaker, Honorable Miranda that day, that the House is determined to redeem its integrity, its image, because the House itself knows that it is challenged now in the eye of the public.
Let's take it to the senior lawyer, and I would like you to juxtapose the morality and the legalese of what we're dealing with. So let's stay with the Constitution, section 92, subsection 2C, which my producer should be able to put up any moment from now, which is that provision that some people are referring to as to they don't have a reason, they don't need a reason. So that's what's calling to remove the Speaker of the House. So broadly speaking, I don't know whether this has been challenged in court or been tested in terms of a case law. You help us out. But my question is, doesn't that provision give open-ended discretionary powers to members of the House to do whatever they want to do? And this has nothing to do with Obasa as a person, generally speakers of the state houses of assembly.
Absolutely. Just like the gentleman stated, it's in their own prerogative to remove the Speaker, even if it is for the way he puts his cap. Mind you, the Constitution is usually very cautious in prescribing ways and means for a dynamic House. The most dynamic democratic institution is the Parliament or the legislature. So usually the law is a little bit very cautious and try as much as possible to give it a free hand to invent and reinvent itself. The political aspect of it, there is usually a lot of back-room squabbles and considerations before they can reach the decision to remove the speaker. Mind you, a speaker is most likely, generally, although the law does not say so, is more likely to come from within the winning party, the party in majority. So there is also the aspect of political discipline and political influence and interference as well. So the law is very clear. If the House wakes up today and says, oh, we do not like the way you are sitting, and somebody brings up a very strong motion and is able to wheel it through and the vote is passed, and 2/3 of the members vote that they eat. So the aspect of whether or not the reasons are valid, not valid, is inconsequential, because what? The law does not in any way consider that as whether or not it would affect the validity of the decision to remove the speaker. I think the gentleman has been removed. If he asks me, I'm not a politician, and my point here is very narrow, but if you ask me from experience, I do not see him going anywhere with this. But usually politicians are very clever and smart enough to reinvent themselves and give themselves some soft landing. Mind you, the speaker in this part of the world wields a lot of powers, because what? He appoints people to committees, and some people say there are juicy committees, and people would always hang around and support you even when they know you are not conducting the affairs of the House properly, because of what? The patronage.
Let's bring it to you. Let's talk about, continue with the politics of it. On one hand, what do you think is playing out? Is it the members of the Lagos State House of Assembly that kicked him out, or there's a collaboration between the members and the GAC, or it's an entanglement of the power blocks of Lagos State? Because there's always that argument as to when we ask questions about the independence of the House to carry out an action. This has, just using Lagos as an example, there's always the argument of we made a decision of our own. But sometimes we see that it's political fireworks, proxy fireworks. So what is playing out in Lagos State?
See, you cannot totally separate politics from governance in this case, or leadership of the House, as the case may be. The emergence of Mr. Bosa as Speaker in itself is a product of politics. He was not the most qualified, and I'm sure he was not the most experienced. There were people who have been in the House even before he came.
What do you mean by most qualified? Because remember we said that qualification is not really a thing.
Yeah, that's
just be a member of the House.
Yes, he is a product of politics himself, because there is nothing that's actually rated him above every other person that would have been nominated. It must have been a decision of a group, either the party, the GAC, or the caucus, or as the case may be. So if we are not trying to politicize his removal because of 2027, well, it's not impossible. That is purely the business of his political party, his political caucus, or caucuses that are against his ambition. But ultimately, I think, for me as a person, I see that removal as more necessary on the basis of his conduct, these allegations hanging around him, than what his fate becomes politically. This is not the first time he's trying to nurse ambition to occupy a position. In 2023, he attempted, the senatorial ticket of Lagos West, which he never got. And of course, he came back to the House. So if he doesn't get, the ticket of his party for the governorship, he can as well return to the House of Assembly as a member. But I think the most important thing is that we cannot, for the reasons of their political differences within themselves, undermine the gravity of the allegations that are hanging, around his leadership while he was Speaker of the House.
All right, he has said time and again that he has not declared intention to run. All he said is, well, I am qualified, but I am not running. In fact, he has said that he has not gone to meet anybody to try and run. So as far as that goes, he has not declared his intention on the one hand. On the other hand, as we begin to wind down, is the fact that you referred to a petition from EFCC, an invite from the EFCC, 2020.
Yes.
So did it take the members 5 years to decide. But hey, we have to anchor on this point. So the members will not seem like the heroes here, and he is the villain, because these issues are there. So maybe that's something we should also explore in the coming days. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Olufemi Lawson, Public Affairs Analyst and Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Mr. Sam Carbo, thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Well, we're keeping our eyes, of course, on other states. So who knows, your state may be next. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we have more for you on the show. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's switch gears from Lagos politics to national sports. The groups are now complete. AFCON 2025 is up and running. I think it's going to take place later in the year. But the groups fixtures have been out. Nigeria is in Group C. And we're going to look at all of these details. We'll be joined in the program by the men who have been there. Mutiu Adepoju, Nigerian ex-international, joins us. Thank you so much, the headmaster himself. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning.
And of course, we have Mr. Tony Bitoye, our very own sports broadcaster, former media officer of the Nigerian Super Eagles. Thank you so much, Mr. Bitoye, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. You didn't complete your introduction of Mutiu Adepoju.
Okay, what did I miss out?
Winner.
AFCON winner.
Oh,
AFCON silver medalist.
I think I want to add another one.
Medalist.
I'll add another one. Is our legend. He's a legend. So that covers a lot of ground.
A living legend. Yes.
All right. Let's start with the legend himself, Mr. Mutiu Adepoju. I'm sure you've seen all the groups and how it has played out. But our interest today, between all of us, is how the Nigerian group. What's your impression of what you interpret to be the possibilities, what we may likely see at the group stage, as far as the group Nigeria belongs to is concerned?
Oh, well, I think, for me, it was an accessible group, which I think, we shouldn't have any problem. But, we should just remember that there's nothing fixed, or I think we can't just say that we're going to qualify, or we have to work very hard and be prepared very well for it. There's no small team or minus now in football, and we just have to put all our efforts in everything to play all the games and prepare very well before we have 11 months to prepare. And I think, with what we have on ground, the players, we have the capability of qualifying in the group and even go further.
Let me stay with you if I go to Mr. Bitoye. In your days, certain things would have played out, just as you said. There are names you just look and say, come on, this one, we hit this off. This particular group, we're going to qualify, or we may have a difficult situation with this particular group. So we have Nigeria, Tunisia, Uganda, and Tanzania. By reputation, by track record, by abilities of the players within the team, as well as by their performance in past AFCON. If you were to be in this Super Eagles team, what are the kinds of conversation you will be having with the boys?
Well, I would just be discussing that. We have to take everything very serious right from the beginning, from the first game, because the first game is always very, very important. When you win that first game, you have leverage, you have the confidence, you have 3 points already, and then other games, you have to take it with all seriousness. And I think the so-called minus, the team that always give problems to big teams. So we are not going to take it very lightly and just to qualify. That's what I would be saying in the camp if I'm to be there.
Okay, so don't take any team with just the usual Mino's mindset. I like that, and I think that has been said time and again. But Mr. Bitoye, looking at the rankings of those teams in our group, well, we are the highest ranked naturally, usually. Fifth in Africa, then you see Tunisia 9th in Africa, Uganda 19th, Tanzania is not top 20 just yet. But again, we know that those things do not matter. This is Eric Shell's major, at least first major tournament. Thankfully, Mali is not in our group. So again, the same question, but in another light, as a coach, what kind of challenge do you think is before Eric Shell?
Yeah, the AFCON is 11 months away, you know. For Eric Shell, the AFCON is priority 2, if I may say. Priority 1 for Eric Shell is in March, when the World Cup qualifiers begin. But since we are focusing on the AFCON here, I hope that by the time we are playing the AFCON in December, because this AFCON is a U-tide AFCON, it will start towards Christmas and end in January 2026. My hope and my expectation is that by the time we are playing this AFCON in December, we are in a very good mood, which means possibly we've qualified for the 2026 World Cup. If that happens, we'll be full of confidence, full of optimism, and be in a buoyant mood to go into the AFCON. God forbid that the opposite is the case. We will still be, you know, nursing our wounds and, you know, still be trying to recover from the shock of not going to the World Cup. And that, of course, will shape a lot of things around the AFCON in December. But if you look at that group as it is on paper, definitely Nigeria is one of the favorites to qualify from the group. But as Headmaster said, he has a lot of experience in tournaments of this nature. Nothing is guaranteed. If you see these next 2 known teams, they come very prepared for you. They come very motivated to play against you. And so if you are off guard or you think they are small and you don't prepare adequately for them, they could surprise you. An example, of course, was last AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. In the group, our group, we had Nigeria, you had Cote d'Ivoire, you had Equatorial Guinea, you had Guinea-Bissau. Easily, the last team in that group should be either Guinea-Bissau or Equatorial Guinea. But guess what? Equatorial Guinea topped the group. You know, they topped the group ahead of Nigeria. Cote d'Ivoire qualified with the skin of, in fact, it was a miracle. They qualified on the last day with 3 points and a massive goal difference, and a negative goal difference. And then eventually it turned around and they went on to win. So a lot of surprises will always be there, particularly from those little known teams. You know Tunisia, so you come prepared for Tunisia. They know you, they come prepared for you. But you see all those Tanzania, all those Uganda, they have a lot of players who are playing on their domestic scene, Indeed. Who are fired up, who are motivated, who want to go all out, you know, to make a name for themselves by taking you down. And so you don't have to let down your guards. You have to go prepared and get the job done.
Really, we must reiterate, particularly for the North African teams as well. You know, a lot of them play in the local leagues. The East African teams as well, they play, so they know themselves. And some of them have this very massive endurance in games, and they can just go the whole hog and sort of wear you out. But you made a very vital point, really. And I want to go to the headmaster for this one. We have individual stars, right? And I don't want to mention names, so I don't run foul of any, you know, these players have their own followings now. But you can talk about Sime, you can talk about Demola Lukman, you can talk about a lot of them, really. Let me just stop there. How do you expect Eric Shell to shape this team? Thankfully, we have the qualifiers to help us at least put the team together eventually. So Headmaster, how do you expect the coach to play around these individual stars we have? A lot of them don't play together on like these East African and North African teams. So what are your expectations in terms of making use of the individual stars but making them work together as a team?
Well, I think, Eric Chell, has a lot of work to do, with the players. In terms of, trying to managing, the players. They are all, big stars in their right, and like you said, just, putting all the resources together and, having a philosophy of the game in which, the players will be able to, adapt to. So that when they are on the field, they will be able to combine together and put all their resources together and make the team very solid. And I think he has a great work to do in that aspect. And looking forward to, like Toyin said, the World Cup qualifiers. It's around the corner, and all those matches, and the first two matches. Most especially is very very important, and it's going to make us give us the confidence and make the team feel the confidence and to move ahead and to go forward, because the World Cup qualifiers, the World Cup. All the matches that is remaining, I think, there are like 6 matches. It's very, very important that we win if we want to qualify for the World Cup and all that. So I think, he has a lot to do. I believe, with the support of everybody, he will be able to do, all those things, to make us, qualify and, to go ahead, to the AFCON in 11 months.
Mr. Victoria, let's talk about the weaknesses. You and Mr. Depojo have had, of course, you see it beyond the way we see it. We just see them in 90 minutes every game, and that's the best of it, besides pressers and even social media. But there's a conversation beyond that you've had the opportunity to have with these boys. So if you're looking at our weakness, let's begin to address it. What should be the things we should be looking at critically from now? We have qualifiers coming up in the next 2 months, and then the tourney itself coming up in December.
What I have identified as one of our weaknesses in the last couple of weeks has been a lack of leadership on the pitch. On some occasions, particularly in the World Cup qualifiers, and then maybe a lack of hunger, a lack of commitment. In some games, like the last game we played against Rwanda, we had already qualified, and so maybe that's an excuse for a little bit of complacency. But it is dangerous to be complacent in at this level, because one loss could lead to loss of confidence, and then one loss leads to another loss, and it leads to another loss, and the confidence is gone, and you don't get it back. And before you know what's happening, the whole team is down. A very good example of this is Ghana. Ghana were having a good run in the World Cup qualifiers, and then one bad result, and they never recovered from the bad result, and they are not going to be at the AFCON. So that's what we have to address. We have to be committed. We have to have leadership on the pitch. By leadership, I mean how to react to situations during the game, because in a football game, the difference between winning and losing sometimes could be down to very small details. And you need an experienced person, you need a leader on the pitch to tell the boys, look, okay, we concede a goal first, doesn't mean we are out, we can fight back, we can still win this game. We are making this mistake, let's correct it, let's fight this way. Apart from whatever the coach is telling you from the sidelines, on the pitch, you need that leadership, you need that hunger, you need that commitment. And I think, you see, we are blessed, as you said, as Sekayode also said, with a lot of talent. If we get our acts together, if we get these boys to play to their abilities, if we play with hunger and commitment, and we give our 100%, it's very difficult for us to be stopped, particularly in Africa, because we are so good, we have good players. And once these boys can take into gear and show that commitment, giving 100%, we can deal with anything. But the issue is, how do we constantly ensure that we're able to get our players to that level?
Major issues really you've raised, but Nigerians don't play with their football, so we expect that the team naturally will not play with our emotions eventually. But looking at the groupings, yes, there are other groups, but quickly I want us to run through, right? But quickly with our group, aside Nigeria, who would you say is the other team that you think might pull a surprise, qualify with Nigeria, and then we'll walk through Group A to Group F. But of course, Nigeria is qualifying in that group. Amen. But I'll begin with you, Mr. Victoria, then I'll go to the headmaster. Which other team do you expect? I'm thinking Tunisia, because it's going to take place in Morocco, and this is another North African country. But I may be wrong. What do you think, Mr. Victoria?
Well, definitely.
Okay, Mr. Victoria first, then we'll come to headmaster.
Okay. Clearly, option one for me is Nigeria.
Yeah.
I don't really care about any other team that joins Nigeria. But let me just say something very quickly about the football in Tanzania. Their domestic football is on the rise. It's the Simba of this world, the young Africans of this world. They are doing really well, and their clubs are getting into the crucial stages of continental competitions, So Tanzania, football in Tanzania is on the rise, and that's a factor. So I won't be surprised if they're able to carry on to getting something decent at the AFCON. My eyes are on Tanzania and Nigeria in that group.
Headmaster, so you give us your own on Group C, and then maybe run us through some of the other groups. But of course, the focus is on Group C.
Okay. I think, looking on paper, definitely Nigeria is going to qualify. Which is what everyone of us wants. Then looking at on paper, what we say Tunisia, but like Tony said, Tanzania football is on the rise, and they might put some surprise. Surprise. And I think Tunisia, they have very good football too. And looking at the North Africans, the way they perceive and the way they do, when they are on the continent and all that, they have very good football, and they have good opportunity of qualifying. So I think it's going to be between Nigeria, Tunisia, and Tanzania, not undermining Uganda, because there might be surprises.
Okay, Mr. Victoria, so begin to wind down the headmaster. Maybe two straight questions.
Walk through the groups.
While you're you help us walk through other groups, Mr. Victoria, because it's AFCON. But I wanted to find out from you, Mr. Victoria, whether we're going to see another all West African finals, just like we saw in the last tourney.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility, but when the North Africans are hosting and they get their crowds and their fans behind them, it can be a factor, So just leave a little room for a North African team, maybe possibly. The last time we had a tournament in North Africa was Egypt, and it was Algeria that won it. That was Egypt in 2019. Algeria won it, beating Senegal in the final. So I'm not going to be writing off maybe Morocco playing at home, riding on the success of the World Cup in 2022, and they have a decent team, a young team. So maybe Morocco could be in with a little bit of magic, but you never say never. In football, in the tournament of this nature, you can have surprises.
The headmaster himself, I wanted you to also speak to that effect. What do you see, an all West African final, or there's going to be a mixture this time? Because we're just trying to project and extrapolate here.
West African final is possible. Looking at all the tips that we have, but North Africans we have to be very conscious of what they are doing. Most especially Morocco, like Tony said. Morocco is burning. They are jeering, doing everything possible win, AFCON, because they have not won it in a very, very long time. I think, they've only won it once. And, the way their football is developing, their facilities and everything, and, what they did at the last World Cup too, I think they are really, willing and, willing to win the AFCON. Then, we should not undermine, Egypt. They are the only team that have won it 7 times, the AFCON, and they have not won it in a very, very long time too, and they really want to come back. So we have to put all those in consideration and all that. But definitely West African final is possible.
We have chosen to be nice in this conversation. We did not talk about football management. We didn't talk about the NFF funding because it's still early days. So this is a nice startup, but not to forget that these are the issues we must also keep our eyes on, all of the football management issues. So we hope that they've gotten their acts together. But there you have it, 11 months to go.
All right, so we want to thank you both for coming on the program. It's Tony Bitoye, sports broadcaster, former Super Eagles media officer, as well as the legend himself. I like to leave it at legend, Mr. Tony Bitoye. He covers a lot of ground. Mutia Adekmoju, the headmaster. So legend covers AFCON, World Cup, European League, everything. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue the conversation as we progress in our sports scene development. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll switch gears for another conversation away from football and sports. Join us again.
What we are witnessing today speaks to the alignment of vision, and I must commend the vision of Governor Kaode Fayemi at starting this project. And what a state gains when you have continuity is what you are seeing today. He tried his best, and we took off from the baton from that place, and I'm happy. It will shock you that this is my first visit to this airport since I became governor. I've never been here. I came here today to inspect with the Honorable Minister. And I was not coming because I have confidence in the ability of the team handling the airport, and they give me periodic reports. And I'm glad that all the reports that I've read, what I've seen today, is in alignment with that report. The airport is ready for non-scheduled flight, so anybody that has a chartered flight can fly into this place without any fear. And once in a while, too, we encourage that the airport is maintained. It's a dual-purpose airport. It's going to serve agro-allied products, and it's also going to serve commercial passengers. So the state economy will benefit tremendously for this. Jobs will be created, and there'll be added value to the properties around this place, because there's going to be an exponential increase in traffic to the state. It's going to boost agri, it's going to boost commerce, it's going to boost tourism.
Yes, and so we told you your state may be next, and so it's your state that is next. Ekiti State is next, and we saw the governor there speaking on the new Ekiti cargo airport project that has now been commissioned and has taken off. So joining us for this conversation on its significance for aviation development and for job creation in Ekiti State is Air Vice Marshal Sunday Makinde, retired. He's also the technical advisor, Ekiti Airport Project, who joins us via Zoom from Ado Ekiti. Air Vice Marshal Makinde, welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television.
Thank you very much, and I have to say a very big thank you for having me on this program this morning.
All right, so let's get right into it. It must be a glorious moment for the Ekiti State government and indeed Ekiti people when you consider, the trajectory of the Ekiti Airport going way back to the first administration of former Governor Kayode Fayemi. So walk us through the political opposition to the project, the litigation, and you know, the inauguration in 2022 that was disputed over certification issues, and where we are today.
I must really put the record straight here from the beginning. I'm the technical guy. When you talk about politics and those other stuff, I don't think politics has any place in airport development. It is just for us to focus and know that this airport is going to put Ekiti State on a fast lane of rapid urbanization. And that has been the focus of all the Ekiti State administration that has been in place. And we just remain focused on that without minding whatever any opposition is doing. After all, the airport is going to be there and is going to outlive anybody that is in any position in the Ekiti State right now, including myself.
All right, let's talk about what may have gone into funding that has now brought us here today. Remember, it was an initial brainchild of the former administration of former Governor Kayode Fayemi, and then it was taken up by former Governor Ayodele Fayose, and then it continued up until this current administration of Mr. Biodun Oyebanji. What, in terms of funding, do you think has gone through it? The books from 2023 helps us understand that about 16 billion naira was expended on the project. But how much in all may have gone into it, and what is it worth?
Well, when you talk about financials, I'm not the right person to give you that kind of information because I don't have it. I'm the technical guy, like you rightly said. And I can tell you straight away that to develop an airport is not, especially when you look at the position of Ekiti State when it comes to finance generally in Nigeria. You would expect us to have the same speed as maybe, let me use my other state, to say, you won't expect us to have the same speed like Lagos, for instance. Funding would definitely be an issue in Ekiti, and it can be a little bit slow. But by and large, we are taking some steps to ensure that the projection is for a slow but steady increase, and we are getting there. Beginning from now, what you are going to see is a rapid development of that infrastructure.
Okay, you are the technical guy, as you say, but you should be able to speak to, funding as well. But we'll take your answer for it and move on to other aspects of the conversation. I hope you're able to talk about the viability of the project, retired Vice Marshal. Talk to us about the viability of this project. There's so many other cargo airports that have been developed. We can talk about the Ogun State Airport Cargo Project that is, soon to become operational. It's already 90% finished according to the administration, and it's just about 3 hours to, Ekiti State. There's also the Ibadan Airport, which is 3 hours and 30 minutes to Ekiti. There's also the Akure Airport, which is just 1 hour 35 minutes to Ekiti State. So talk to us about the viability of this project.
Okay, now you are clearly in my 18, in my top, so we'll be talking better now. You talk about viability of this particular airport, and indeed any project that is embarked upon by a government. You are looking at it from the point of view of saying, what are the feasibility studies even before you embark on the project? And that informed the Ekiti State government, even the present and even the past ones, to come up with the idea of this project. Ekiti is a landlocked state. And I tell you, to unlock the potentials of this state, you need a lot of infrastructure. And aviation, to even put it mildly, is one of the major factors when you talk of opening up a state. I mean, very serious businesses will look at facilities in a state, especially transportation before they site their offices, before they bring their operations to that state. So Ekiti has gone ahead to fast track that procedure, and we've gone ahead to do this airport as the major way. Unlike what the state governor said, Governor Biodo Ebanji, it's a dual-purpose airport. It's not only for cargo. Why we emphasize on the cargo aspect of this is because Ekiti is largely an agrarian society, and we can only add value by siting this airport, even at the location where it is today. And all we ask for now is for us to continue to encourage the farmers and those people in that sector to be able to make use of the infrastructure that has been provided by government. Another point about viability is that we conducted a study, like I told some people on some other fora that have been engaged. We conducted a feasibility study at the Akure airport. It was a very, very elaborate study, and we got from that over 65% of traffic going into that airport ends up at Ekiti. And that's huge. That's huge. I must tell you at this forum that Ekiti International Airport is poised to grab a large chunk of the aviation pie in terms of passenger traffic in this area. So you talk about 3 hours from Lagos, 3 hours from Abeokuta and all that. It doesn't matter. You cannot say because your friend has a car, then you are not going to buy a car. Your own purpose, your value addition, and your value proposition will definitely set you apart. And we have started rightly. You need to visit Ekiti.
But did your feasibility studies also take into consideration the position of the airport, the aviation regulator in the country in the first place, which says that only 3 of the 22 airports in Nigeria are viable, and those 3 airports, the funding from those 3 airports are being used to manage the other 22 airports in the country? And even if you were talking about, cargo, an agro-cargo airport, what is the viability also to the extent that the agro-produce will go straight to Ekiti Airport if they can stop first of all in Ibadan, if they can stop first of all in Ogun State?
Yes, I knew this question was going to come, and I will tell you that when you look at the position of the state, like I mentioned before, it depends on the value you bring from the beginning. You must make sure that you are focused on your value and you continue to improve upon that. If you say what we want to do about the products, the cargo to be lifted from this airport, it depends on what your purpose from the beginning is. There is a cargo terminal being built at this airport by the federal government. It is a federal government infrastructure. It's not even part of what we did. It's the federal government that cited that cargo terminal in Ekiti. And that goes a long way to tell you that we are thinking, and people out there are also thinking about Ekiti.
So you agree that it's just going to join the list of the other airports that will be managed by the 3 viable airports in the country?
I don't really think so, because like I said, it is what you put in place that matters. Let me use a very good example for you. I wanted to try as much as possible not to bring in examples, but you sort of dragged me into it. Asaba Airport is being managed by the state. And I can tell you straight up that that airport is not a liability, as far as I know, because I took my time to go around all these airports. I visited and I checked a lot of indices. In Ekiti, we don't do things just because we want to do it. We do a lot of studies, we check things because we must ensure that we add value and get good value for money. Everything we do is cost beneficial. When you talk about the airport, we are now looking at airport management. How do we want to manage this airport? That should be the next question that you ask me. And I tell you right from the word go, we have our development master plan ongoing. So everything we are doing is taken from the basics. That's why you see that we didn't rush to say, okay, we are ready. We allow other people to tell us we are ready. And the Honorable Minister of Aviation was here, and he said that we are 99.5% ready.
Well, I noted that you said that you don't think so. So that means that you're not 100% sure. So
Did I say I don't think so?
That's what you said. You can play back. So
that I said I don't think so.
Yes.
No,
We can play back. We can play back,
Okay.
sir. So what's the plan that the state government has in place to ensure that whatever has been expended on the project that we are not sure of because it has gone through administrations, it could be more than the 19 billion naira that has been projected from what has been released by managers of the state government's planning and budget ministries. So what is the plan to ensure that these monies are recouped for the benefit of the Ekiti state government, Ekiti state people in the short term rather than the long term?
How do you want to recoup investments in the short term? I'm not sure that is possible in this kind of investment. That is not the focus. It has to be in the medium to long term. And the aim of government is not really to recoup. I don't think it will be about recouping. It's not really about recouping. This infrastructure is there forever. Can you ever recoup the infrastructure? I mean, the money for Third Mainland Bridge, for instance. It's an infrastructure that is there for prosperity, for posterity also. So the question of recouping for me, I've not thought of that. We will make profit for the benefit of the people from that airport, but recouping, I don't think it's a discussion that we should be having at this time.
All right. We hope that it will be in the long term, but not too long term, as you have projected. There's more, but we'll anchor at this point, and thank you very much. Air Vice Marshal Sunday Makinde, retired, is also the technical advisor, Ekiti Airport Project, who joined us via Zoom from Ado Ekiti. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And from airport management, we go on to another important subject matter. This time around, Kadi is standing by to take on that one. Stay with us.
Let's be honest, we can't do without tech, whether it's your mobile device, your computer, your vehicles, your television. Tech is here to stay. So for the next 10 minutes plus, we're going to be talking tech and cybersecurity. And we have joining us on the show, Dorcas Akintade. She is the Managing Advisor, Cybersecurity Transformation. Join us live from Maryland, USA. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Hi, good morning.
I
know.
It's
actually the middle of the morning here.
We've messed with your timeline because I know it's very early in the morning for you. So thank you for staying up to have this conversation with us. But it's a very important one. And I want us to start with the big one, DeepSeek versus ChatGPT. DeepSeek is able to do the work it's doing with just millions of dollars, right? While ChatGPT is doing the work it's doing with billions of dollars. And this has been a major point of conversation. DeepSeek, of course, Chinese, ChatGPT, where you are in America. So I'd like you to speak to that, first of all, particularly how this also affects the global cybersecurity space, because everybody is turning to AI now, and you're turned betwixt DeepSeek, which is cheaper, ChatGPT, which is quite expensive and has been doing this for longer. So what's your take on this, first of all, how it affects cybersecurity to begin with?
Thank you. The first thing you need to understand about how AI is working right now, like I explained to everyone, AI is a double-edged sword. So it's dependent on how you use it or who is using it. You're talking about ChatGPT and you're talking about DeepSeek, but you also need to have a good understanding of what kind of data is going into each one. You have to be very sensitive about where or what kind of information is going out. AI feeds on data. So to a very large extent, a lot of people will think that ChatGPT is safer, but is it actually safer? Those are some of the questions I ask. So irrespective of which one you are using, thinking from a cybersecurity angle, for me, I think both of them are working relatively the same way. The only difference is in the pricing. But you have to be sensitive about what kind of information you are putting in. Because irrespective, if you decide to put in sensitive information, no matter what kind of AI tool you are using Llama, using Gemini, using ChatGPT, irrespective, no matter what you are using, it will still exfiltrate data. So personally, I don't really see a difference in either one. It depends on who is using it and how you are using it.
I like that interesting perspective, right? Just pick your devil and dine with it as it were. But also help us understand how far is too far. Because a lot of people say, well, first, we can't do without it. So it would be very tricky to say, well, you're exposing your data, so stay away from it entirely. But what kind of data is too much data? So people want to respond to mails, for example, they use ChatGPT. How do you ensure that you're still not giving out sensitive information? Because people want to respond to a job offer and they put it, help me find a response to it, not knowing that you're training it to know that you just got a job offer in some sense. So that's some sort of sensitive information. So how far is too far? I hope you catch my drift here.
Yes, I totally catch it. The sincere truth is you are never sure. So you have to be, the word I usually use is street smart and wise. Now, what am I talking about? You can actually give information to a certain extent without divulging personal details. There's nothing wrong with telling ChatGPT you just got a job offer. A lot of people have not even gotten the job offers and they're already writing out their letters. So it's possible to tell ChatGPT you got a job offer. That is not sensitive information. But telling ChatGPT your name, the company where you are working, or where the job offer is coming from, how much is being offered, sensitive information. Anything that has to do with, we call it PII, that is your personal identifiable information. Anything that can identify you. Once it goes in, believe me, that is going to be a big problem. So I would advise you to put in sensitive information, your date of birth, your social security numbers, even your name. We now live in a space or an age where if I get your name, I can totally get information about you, irrespective of who you are or where you are from. Sometimes you can even put your name if you are a celebrity or you are somebody that people look up to and they search for you on the net. So sometimes that can be possible. But relatively, I will not advise that you put in what I refer to as sensitive data. For example, I don't want you to tell ChatGPT that you have cancer or that you have like your blood type. Sensitive information should not be divulged. Don't tell ChatGPT your children's name. Don't tell ChatGPT your children's date of birth. Those kind of information are stored because it is being used to train the bots. So mostly, I think it's just important to focus on not revealing sensitive information. When I use the word sensitive, I mean really sensitive information.
There you go.
Exactly.
So if you didn't know that before, you're welcome. This is, well, using AI 101. And it could be ChatGPT, DeepSeek, it could be Grok by X or Elon Musk, it could be Gemini and all of that. The point is all of the AI tools, be very careful. But I'd like you to speak to how to also use it for positives or how to use the potential. I was listening to a video recently where a woman was sharing how she was speaking to school teachers and they were like, we've banned AI tools. You can't use it for assignments. Don't even touch it. And she was like, no, that shouldn't be the approach. So in terms of ensuring that we're also catching on and leapfrogging with this, because a lot of people have said this is our opportunity to leapfrog. This is that opportunity we're waiting for. We didn't catch on with the industrial age, technology age, but with this artificial intelligence, we can leapfrog. So how do we handle it, particularly for tutors, schools, and those people at the formative years of our children?
One of the reasons why students are discouraged from using AI is because two reasons, actually. I'm going to think from a security perspective, then I'm going to think as a parent. The reason is because if you look at a country like the US, we have what is referred to as banned words. When the children start getting into high school, they start having some words that are referred to as banned words that they should not be using in their essays. Unfortunately, when ChatGPT is writing for you, it's not going to be writing for you based off of the way the teacher will teach you. It's going to be writing for you based off of how you and I are communicating, because that is how it has been trained. So it is not looking at it as a tutor. So I'm thinking now as a parent. But the second reason is because of plagiarism. When a lot of people need to understand, like I said, this is data that has been trained on. So it is not just bringing things out from the sky. It's bringing information that some other people have fed into it, which in essence means that is another person's paperwork.
Right.
Then the third thing you need to understand is that at this time, AI is getting much better. But when the AI tools started coming out initially, there was something called hallucination. Hallucination meant that it was bringing out information from the air. If ChatGPT could not get that information from you, it was going to make one up. And that was one of the reasons why we started advising people to ground it. Grounding it means you need to feed it with information that you need it to give to you. One of the things that ChatGPT has done right now is to give you what is called a private ChatGPT portion, so that it only works for you. If you give it that information to work exclusively for you, you're not just giving it that information to work exclusively for you. It is so that you can ground it,
right,
and it does not start hallucination from the air. So that is one of the reasons why so many teachers are discouraging the students, and they feel it makes the students lazy. A lot of students will probably get like a 98% without putting in the effort. Just say ChatGPT, write me an essay on this, and they will probably get their papers all written up. And you need to understand that 95% of it is actually plagiarism. So I think that's why so many teachers and tutors are skeptical about it. But for those of us in the cybersecurity field, personally, I do advise people that I mentor and I work with, you have to use it. The reason you have to use it is for you to understand how to work with something or how to guard something. You need to understand the way it thinks first. You need to understand the way it's going to work. You need to understand it to a certain extent. So if you don't know the direction in which it is moving, how are you supposed to stop it or control it? So like I said, I've given my perspective now as a teacher and also as a cybersecurity professional.
And there's a lot of value in it. You have over 2 decades of experience, so I think this is one a lot of people should take seriously. But I want us to wind down on this point. While this is still sort of developing, some have said this is early days, so you wonder if they mean early days, what will tomorrow look like? For organizations now, again, organizations play a huge role in how this is used, workers. How do you advise organizations to also approach this? From the cybersecurity perspective, again, it's been said that nobody's data is safe. Once you put your data out there, it is out there. Even if you say that, please keep this anonymous, it's out there. But how do you advise organizations to approach this such that they are safe and also as efficient and effective in this age?
Whether we like it or not, AI is here to stay. I would say all the emerging trends are here to stay. Sometimes when you avoid something, it bites you on the heels. So sometimes you just move on and you go head on. So what I would rather advise is education. You need to educate people consistently. Immersion brings conversion. When you tell people the same thing over and over and over again, when they are about to make the mistakes, then they'll remember. You also have to put what is called policies in place. A lot of organizations at the initial stage were trying to avoid using AI tools on their network. But so many of them now have discovered that they need to start working smart. So they are using AI threat detection right now because it is not only working faster, it's also working smarter, and it is reducing costs. So the truth is we really cannot avoid it 100%. The only thing we can do is train people consistently. There's a difference between training people one time and telling them the same thing over and over and over again, and also ensuring that there is a policy in place. There are policies and procedures. One of the biggest problems I have discovered with a lot of organizations is they don't even have their own policies and procedures. I tell people, when it comes to cybersecurity, we have a problem. We are only focused on the technology part.
Right.
Whereas it is actually three parts: technology, the people, and the process.
All right.
So many organizations have thrown out the people and the process portion of it and only focus on the technology part.
And the people are
Not
very important.
Understanding. Sorry?
I said the people are very important. They drive this process. We really have to anchor at this point. I see that this is a very interesting conversation, but this is just our way of also touching base with Nigerians doing great things in the diaspora on our Diaspora Connect. And I have to thank you so much. There's a question I have to ask quickly, 30 seconds. Seeing Trump's announcement, $500 billion, Elon Musk say, well, no, I mean, that is too much. We don't even have investment as much as that. And then Trump warning about the latest Chinese company AI, saying this is a wake-up call. What is your expectation when it comes to Trump and technology in America, particularly with this Department of Government Efficiency as well? Quickly, any expectations?
Wow, that is a very hard question.
So,
the reason I said it's a very hard question is if we use this first tenor to look at the way things are going to move in this particular tenor, he didn't do a lot. He did not do a lot for technology during that period. But I think he's trying to change that this time, and he's trying to get support, or I will use the word rally support from some technology leaders, or they're trying to be on the side. So sincerely, everyone is just skeptical. We don't know what to look forward to right now. Another thing you need to understand is that there are hiring freezes right now that is making everybody very uncomfortable and wary.
Right.
So right now, nobody knows what is going to happen technology-wise. Yes, he's allowed to put out his budget, but it does not mean it is going to be approved.
There you go.
So let us wait for what he's going to do and how he's going to go about it.
So this is a wait and see.
Telling him that is too much, then really that is actually too much.
There you go. Well, Trump has said Elon does not like one of those people. But we'll wait and see, as you said, and see how things play out. But we have to thank you so much. We've been speaking with Dr. Sakintade, Managing Advisor, Cybersecurity Transformation. Thank you for coming on our Diaspora Connect segment and for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So Nigerians doing great things, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. But Jeffrey,
yeah, it's an interesting conversation with DeepSeek now. And the problem here is about augmentation or takeover.
Right.
So what is really happening in the world is human-grade reasoning. That's where AI is trying to get to. And it doesn't have to get to the point where I'm really afraid of. Because if it gets to human-grade reasoning, then a lot of us will be out of job. Well,
let's take a moment now, Jeffrey.
We'll think about it in a moment. But let's switch gears now to something else, away from AI and all the talks about technology and cybersecurity. Let's talk about books, which is very important. Our just guests that we just spoke to in our Diaspora Connect, also, this is also Diaspora Connect, because they talked about plagiarism, the scholarship rigor that is required to put in the work for deep understanding, maybe threatened by AI. That's one argument. Others say to augment. We're joined in the program by an author and a writer, Olani Lev, joining us from Kent, United Kingdom. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Can you hear me, Olani? If you can hear me, kindly unmute your device. All right, so we will take a quick break. We'll come back in just a moment. Join us again.
So let's get right into what's trending. Not to worry, we'll have that conversation with the author. A very interesting conversation. I know the natural question on the mind of a lot of people is, what is it with the mask? Yeah. So all of that we hope to get across to you once we fix all of the connection and the audio. But the big trends this morning, naturally, the impeached Lagos Assembly Speaker, Obasa, speaking about his impeachment, right? We also see some other talking points. But let's get into what you have been talking about on the show this morning. And I think we should start with the dropping of charges by Chief Afe Babalola against Dele Farotimi. I think that was one that a lot of people didn't see coming, right? And would like to just walk you through what Nigerians have been saying. Chief Afe Babalola has officially dropped charges against Dele Farotimi after Oni's intervention. And what he said was that former President Olusegun Obasanjo intervened. He said no, but he couldn't say no to the Oni of Ife. And you see this one from Egbelawo on X, replying to that, saying, "We appreciate the Oni's timely intervention in resolving the matter. However, it is unfortunate that the elder statesman handled the situation poorly." Really? Is that what you think? Well, different strokes for different folks, but that's what this user has to say about that.
This is coming from C. King. He says, I beg, nobody intervened. He knew the case would expose corruption in the judiciary for sure. That's allegedly other big men would have been involved. Baba saw soft landing and he quickly took it. Nobody's interested in intervention. Oh, okay. Yeah. Different approach to this.
Really. Well, suffice it to say that the elder statesman also mentioned other notable Nigerians who intervened initially before the Oni, but he refused at the time. So perhaps we should be, reflect every aspect of the conversation before we make our comments. But Matthew Osia is the next speaker here. He says, in Nigeria, the situation is concerning, particularly regarding Afe Babalola, a senior advocate of Nigeria. His defamation suit against Dele Farotimi is viewed as a facade. The case should be examined in court to address both Babalola's claims and the underlying legal principle. Well, if roles were reversed here, I wonder if the comments would be the same. But Kayode, you have the next one.
Well, at the end of the day, it's simply about whose interest is it in, But he's made a decision. What Farotimi's response, we haven't gotten it. But maybe we'll get a bit of, maybe a soundbite of what Chief Afe Babalola said about the situation.
Yeah. And well, Mr. Farotimi has been putting out lots of tweets, but let's take a listen to what Chief Afe Babalola said, particularly about this one. Lots of things said, but let's listen to what he said about this case.
I am the chairman of Transparency International, based in Germany, over corruption. I've given lectures alongside with Obasanjo and others around Africa. You can see my speech in Cotonou, everywhere. They're printed. For one to come and say, I won my cases through corruption, strikes at the bottom of what I am. That was why I rejected every appeal to take the case out of court. There is nothing I'm going to gain by his imprisonment. If I sue him, there's something I'm going to gain from any so-called damages. I am not in quest of more wealth. No. Rather, on how to spend what I have for the benefit of others. When Obasanjo wrote and came here, I said no. When Kuka phoned and came, I said no. I have the letters here. But on this occasion, I say yes.
Yeah, speaks to the potency of the traditional institutions, and we hope they remain that way. But on to the next talking point, this one that got Jeffrey and I chuckling at the start of the program. Former President Muhammadu Buhari saying, I now feed from renting out my house. Really? Well, what are you saying beyond what we are saying? Temitope Oyetomi says, all Nigerian presidents are entitled to pension for life at the rate equivalent to the salary of the incumbent president. He doesn't need to rent out his house to feed. Well, I'm not going to conclude that thought for you.
Come on.
Is
it your feeding, first of all? Do you know how much his feeding costs? I think, no, I need to know what the issue is with here. Do you have issues with him becoming a landlord and renting his house? Are you a tenant? Let us properly position. Do you know what his monthly budget for feeding? What if the monthly budget for feeding is 100 million and his pension is not able to afford that?
It's interesting how people are looking at it. On one hand, people are saying, he's saying, look, I did not steal money. I live with what I have. That's one argument. The other people are saying, it's not a good personal finance manager. Because, no, these are the perspectives. You have, perhaps as a former military man and as a former head of state, you're entitled to a lot of things. And you even have a farm of cows and all of that. So why are you renting? It could also be the fact that he's into some subletting or
Airbnb, right? So each man is...
I think the other perspective people are getting is the fact that, oh, he's first coming, he gave us the impression that he didn't have money, he couldn't buy the forms. I know if a friend who says he's not going to vote for him because if with his pension he couldn't buy a form, how can he manage Nigeria's economy? You know, people just say all kinds of things. So that is the danger of being a popular leader as a person. But your thoughts are valid, but the former president has his own position, and he has stated it.
It's subjective. So I'd rather go with Kaudi's perspective. His budget for feeding could be 100 million naira.
The fact that some of us spend 100 naira per meal doesn't mean some other people don't spend 10 million naira. Next one.
Justice Omodi Agbe says Baba should stop all this trying to sound frugal. He is no longer receiving pension as an ex-president. So you see, everybody is reacting. If it's me and you that said that, no, it will not. It's not going to cause a buzz.
We all know why people are reacting. A lot of people have a grouse against the former president. So even if he comes and says that, I'm not selling petrol for 100 naira, they will still say why. Because a lot of people were not happy with the way they perceived his handling of the economy.
Yeah, of course.
So that is why. So whatever he says, there's still going to be some negative.
I think in the last 25, 26 years now of our democracy, Muhammadu Buhari, our former president, enjoyed the highest goodwill as a president at his coming. Highest. Well, but what Jeffrey, he did with that goodwill is another kettle of fish.
Well, Jeffrey, you could also say that that goodwill has been extended to this current administration. And, you know, Nigerians are waiting to see the results
this current administration
in the transformation of the economy that has been promised by the APC government.
Former President Buhari's goodwill is different from President Tinubu's goodwill. His own is more. People are just trying to give him maybe time to understand him. Buhari was like, this is a messiah. He will save the country. That kind of system. Okay, well, let's go.
For those who bought that line. The next talking point, naturally, is a very touchy subject.
Yeah, it's a very, very touchy subject.
It's gotten a lot of people talking, a lot of people emotional, and it concerns Two-Face and Annie. Well, a post was put out by Two-Face. People said, was he hacked? Then he put out another one saying this. Take a listen.
My account. Thank you very much. Bless you. Yo, bless for my people. Nobody hacked my account. Thank you very much. Bless you.
A backtracking of what this is about, but just in case you're wondering, so the post he put out earlier on spoke about him going through a divorce process,
filing
divorce with Annie. And this is coming off the videos of Annie in that reality TV show. A lot of people concerned about...
Rich, young, and famous.
Yeah, exactly. And African.
Young, famous, and African.
Young, famous, and African. A lot of people were worried about her state of health, the way she was sounding. Was she coherent or otherwise? So I'm saying, no, it's acting. You get, is it drug-related and all? And then he put out that post, so a lot of people thought, wrong timing, dude. Was your account hacked? That's why he now put up that video. So, well, a very heartbreaking one, really.
As much as I've been trying to restrain myself, from airing an opinion on this, I can't resist it. Sometimes when your lifetime ambition is not to want something that everybody wants, there's very little that you can do about it if you want something that everybody wants. And if, what you want that everybody wants, in turn, now wants everything that everybody wants, you're not going to have peace at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you desire peace more than what you want that everybody wants. Really, more importantly, there is love in sharing, but there is peace in having your own, especially when it comes to a lifetime partner. I guess that summarizes it.
Yes, there's a lot to talk about, but we'll move away from Two-Face and Annie to that OU lecturer. Remember when the students surprised him? Check out this video.
So beautiful moment there. His name is Dr. Ezekiel Olaguju, and he joins us on the show this morning. We've been trying to have a conversation with Dr. Olaguju. Dr. Olaguju, you're welcome to the morning brief. A lot of people saw your video last week, and it was heartwarming, particularly because a narrative people get from lecturers is, my lecturer is stressing me, or this lecturer is making me buy handouts. But your case is different. So I'd like you to walk us through that feeling. Oh dear, I understand that we just lost connection with Dr. Olaguju just when we were hoping to have him.
What will happen, maybe we'll have to bring him back tomorrow, because it's important that we spotlight him because of what he did. Whatever he did right, the students appreciated it. Not every student liked their lecturer.
And maybe we'll try to get one of his students as well.
So just to have a conversation with him, I think we should have a proper conversation with him, not just an aside, because it's important we get to know what he's doing differently, how he's reaching out to the student, because I've been taught by lecturers. You can clearly see some lecturers, this is what they are called to do. Then I've seen lecturers that this is hustle. No, it's true now. It is what it is, you know. You can clearly see that this way, if he has a choice, he won't be here.
Right.
But you see some people, if you take that job from them, they will not be accomplished. They will not be fulfilled. Perhaps Dr. Ezekiel Olaguju falls in that category. So almost thank you.
Especially when you know that the evidence of what you do as a teacher, I'd rather use the word teacher, is the result and the transformation of the lives of people. And the testament to what Dr. Olaguju has done is, how we see the students appreciating him. So would like to spotlight it and let it be an example for other teachers, to follow.
Other teachers that people don't like, yourselves.
Repent today.
Lami and the lecturer, we will get them on the program. We had connection issues, so as soon as we'll get that sorted and bring them later on, maybe within the week or later next week.
Absolutely. So, Lami, thank you for staying on tomorrow, and Dr. Olaguju as well. We'll have a conversation tomorrow. But we have to anchor at this point. What a day it has been. Thank you so much for watching. Make your Tuesday count, and repent again if you belong to the other category of lecturers. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.